Up next, exploring the intersection of tech and entertainment. Another great theme for today. We have Billy Schreyer, Jonathan Heder, and Justin Winters.
Hello, everyone.
You got one.
This one's on, yeah.
Yeah, ready to rock.
All right. Yeah, that's us. We did not put a lot of time into our flyer. Somehow that didn't get taken care of.
In fact, I think they made it for us, so we put 0 time into the flyer.
It looks beautiful, though. Thank you. Yeah, we are the co-founders of Verified Labs. I'm the CEO, partner, COO. And we're going to talk about exploring the intersection of technology and entertainment. We have 23 minutes, so what I want to do is, I've been to a few of these panels now, and it feels like it's a one-way street where there's a lot of talking and not a lot of opportunities to answer questions. So we'll take you along for a little bit of a ride, but then I do want to open it up to anything that you guys want to know about. So if something comes to you and you have a question, something that you want answered, I think that's the best way to do it. Ask it and we'll see if we have that information for you. But just a quick background on us so that you know. We are an agency, a Web3 agency primarily, which means we work with top talent, from actors and actresses to athletes to musicians to influencers and brands, and we bring them into the Web3 space. So you've probably heard that there are a lot of agencies and management companies, from CAA to WME to UTA, that have departments that are, dedicated to Web3 and quote unquote the metaverse, but they're not always available or have the bandwidth to really service all of their clients. Because we've been in this space for a while, we have the connections and the wherewithal to work with their pieces of talent and bring them into the space depending upon what they want to do. So we're kind of an agency first and then a studio second, in the sense that once we have an idea of what the piece of talent wants to do, we outsource with a studio that will do the actual production of that. So right now, to give you an example, we are currently co-producing technically 4 Web3 animated series. John is a part of 2 of those, voicing characters, main characters in both. And that is, with the animated series, basically what we'll do is we will create that with Web3 technology, release it on the blockchain. That's how we'll distribute it. We'll create communities to support the content, but also be a part of the content, anywhere from getting digital collectibles and memorabilia to getting characters that are potentially on the series, to actually influencing the story that we're telling and the arc of the story and the characters. So really engaging the audience, so it's not just kind of this off in the distance, Hollywood makes all the creative decisions and does it, but the community is a part of that process. And ultimately what we plan to do is distribute it, build a community, and show that there is a proof of concept and a built-in audience, and then take that as now it's source material or IP and put that on a major streamer, traditional distribution like an Amazon or a Hulu or a Netflix, so that it can actually reach even more people, and the people that are a part of that community in Web3 will go along for that journey and continue to be a part of that community. But more importantly, a lot of the people that are in traditional Web2 will get an introduction to what Web3 is and where we came from. So it's a hybridized model to get people excited about Web3 and kind of where the tech is now and where we're moving. So that's kind of who we are and what we do as a day-to-day. I'm trying to figure out how to lead that into something exciting for John to talk about. John, do you want to talk about how we know?
Whatever you want. How we started.
Yeah.
So Justin and I had worked on a film a number of years ago and been kind of writing partners on and off over the years. And he came to me it was about 1.5 years ago when I first even heard of the mention of what an NFT was. And what's great, and I think, everything he just explained about our company all happened within like the last year. Really, it feels like it's been so fast, so furious. That was not at all intentional.
Fast and Furious 10
Yeah.
now, I think.
But it started really just with him coming to me and say, hey, he knew I liked to draw and had a bit of a creative mind and wanted to start an NFT drop project. And so that's where we created this project, the Tygon project, where it was just two-dimensional art that I created, kind of taking from my style of what I enjoyed doing as a kid, resurrecting a lot of these old ideas I had from when I drew and created art all through my middle school and high school years. And we started really off that way. And what I really started getting excited from the very beginning when Justin talked to me, saying, I think what's really cool is this whole new world of getting into NFTs, getting into Web3, getting into the metaverse. The world is our oyster. We can do whatever, anything you come up with. We could turn it into a television show. We could turn it into a movie. We can turn it into another NFT project. We really just whatever you think. And so that has been such a fun, creative journey for me to kind of explore things that I've been thinking about for years and really getting back into art. And I think that's, for me, it's really been fun because it's such a different kind of creative output for me, but it has lent itself already. This Tygon project was started out as an art project. It's now kind of, we're talking about turning it into an animated series as well, where I could easily, write stuff, do voice work for. It's creating your own material, and anybody in Hollywood, any agent, any producer will tell you, you want work, you got to create it for yourself. You can wait around, but you got to create it for yourself. And for me, this has been such a great way to create and seeing what the possibilities are. And I think with Billy and Justin and our team, kind of opening up all these new doorways with our Tygon experience that we're about to launch in the sandbox. It's basically creating a video game, something that, again, we didn't really think about when only just a year ago he was like, well, let's create this NFT drop and see where it goes. And it quickly started moving in the direction of we're creating basically this video game sandbox experience where you can create these avatars and go in and travel to another world and interact and do all these cool stuff. And so that's been really awesome for me. And that's been my experience, kind of seeing all the projects that these guys are talking about, but putting myself into it as much as I can.
And I think, on top of that, what we've talked about from the beginning is focusing on the quality of the creative and the projects. I think it's easy in this space to get caught up in the tech and the ever-changing landscape. And I think when you see what's happened over the last year, the strategy to kind of focus on a quality product. And wherever the tech goes, right, that quality product, we can bring it there. And so we focus on what we can control. And that's kind of been our goal from the beginning, to kind of focus on. And some of the partners we work with, they're incredibly talented. We work with Psycho KO, we work with Toonstar, who was part of the Stoner Cats and Gimmicks thing with Mila Kunis. Thank you. And so that's kind of been our strategy.
Yeah, I think taking it back a step too, because I think it's often that we can throw out terms that not everyone is familiar with, or even just platforms that maybe we haven't experienced yet. So to simplify, I think initially I went to John as an artist to create art. This was an opportunity for us to create art in a different space, right? And everyone uses the word NFTs, which is fine because they are non-fungible tokens, but really at the end of the day, for John, it was art, and it was a collectible from John, from his pieces that he created. And so once we talked to John about creating that art, he created art, and we took it to Theta Drop, which is a marketplace platform, and we released 7,777 different types of this art that John had created through a generative. And we were lucky enough to sell out pretty much immediately, to build a community. We generated close, I think, over 7 figures with the secondary market. And now we were able to have a community that was really excited about John, his artwork, these Tygons that we created, which are hybridized animals, a mix between a tiger and a lion. obviously we remember the Liger probably, so don't think we didn't
No
steal.
relations.
No relation
No
at
relation at all.
all. And
They
you know,
can't get me on that one.
no, Fox has been calling. I'm just going to ignore their call. No, I'm just kidding. They do own the rights to that. But, you know, once we had this money, we were able to really start our company and utilize some of that to create starring vehicles for John. And also, because we had this community that was now engaged in the artwork and John, we were like, where can we take this next? And so we started looking at these different platforms. Sandbox is a metaverse where you can go. You've probably, if you've heard of it, you know, Snoop Dogg is there, and Playboy, and Paris Hilton, and Gucci, and all these different entities. And it's really just a place that can be a social hub, or
all the companies that seem like a good fit to me, right?
Exactly. But we had this, you know, crazy idea and world of Tigons and hybridized creatures, and you know, I don't know if it's futuristic or in the past. It's just this madness, brilliant story that John had created. And so we brought it there and we gamified it and we made it a full experience. And it's actually releasing this month on 4/20, which was the date that they chose, 4/20 is. And that's going to be a place where you can go and have this full experience. If you choose to have, you know, these hybridized animal avatars, you can go have avatars. There are missions. There are opportunities to, you know, win collectibles and memorabilia, and even sand, right, which is a cryptocurrency for the sandbox. So we're eagerly awaiting how that plays out. And if, you know, we know our own personal community that we built on the Theta platform will be joining us there, because they're very excited in the Discord that we have and different ways that we've been communicating. So we know that we're bringing them. We're hoping that people that already exist in the sandbox will also be engaged in it, and then hopefully outside people that are just fans of John and some of the other work that we've done will also be there. So that was the next stop. And then what John was saying is like, okay, what do you do next? And we're like, well, can we make the animated series? So now we're in the process of generating additional revenue through NFTs, digital collectibles, assets, all of that, to get a budget together to get some sort of pilot created for that we'll hopefully get a full budget for, and then create an animated series. And again, like we were talking about before, there's an opportunity to have that animated series live on Web3 with that technology and engage the community, but also then once there is some success there, look at traditional models, hybridized models, get it to traditional streamers, and then bring in the financing and build it out even further. So you're looking at all these steps where hopefully, you know, this is where technology and entertainment are coming together to really support the artist and communities. Although we've kind of been in the entertainment industry, this model can be utilized by people who aren't traditionally in the entertainment industry to achieve it. So that's kind of the roadmap of you know, what you can do with a project to create utility and to continue to build interest and opportunities for the community to be a part of. I do want to, there's a few other things that I want us to touch on, some other projects that we're working on that I think are pretty exciting, that also will kind of show how entertainment is changing on how we consume it based on technology and based on where we are with people that are finding themselves more immersed in Web3. I don't know if you want to take over, Billy, and talk a bit about kind of McQueen and Hemingway and some of those
Yeah,
things.
so we found ourselves in kind of a niche space where we began work with some iconic estates. Those estates being the Steve McQueen estate, Ernest Hemingway, and Tupac Shakur. You know, it's been we're working with a studio called IEL. They build an Unreal Engine, and it is a incredible opportunity to showcase these iconic artists and bring them back to a new audience. And the way that we're doing it, you know, Justin, you do a better job of describing the visual component of this, so I'd like you to take that part.
So for Tigons, when we created that, it's literally a 2D animation. If you look at it, if you look at Order of the Tigons on your phone, it's beautiful and crusty and ridiculous.
Gorgeous.
And all those things. But sometimes when we think of NFTs, we think of these 2D pieces of artwork, anywhere from, you know, CryptoPunks to apes and all those things. We were trying to explore what's kind of the next phase, or where can we take this outside of that, where it feels more immersive, where we can use the tech, where we can create a 3D immersive environment. And so, yeah, we're working with IEL, Immersive Enterprise Laboratories. And for the McQueen estate specifically, in conjunction with Triumph Motorcycles, what we've decided to do is the McQueen family has a garage that's filled with a bunch of motorcycles and antique cars that were Steve's. And that garage is only accessible to the family unless you get invited. And so what we've done is we've decided to replicate that garage so everyone can experience that in an immersive way. Outside of just replicating the garage, because we're working with Triumph, when you go to this space that you can experience, there's a motorcycle crate. You'll hear revving of its engine and smoke coming out. When you open that, you get your one-of-a-kind T100 Bonneville Triumph motorcycle. And the rider who is on that, although is masked, we would assume is probably Steve McQueen back from the dead, is burning out and kicking up paint all over the garage, and it anamorphically creates a mural and a portrait of McQueen. So when you look at it from a certain angle, it looks just like him. It's your very own one-of-a-kind piece of memorabilia of him. So you have all of those. You have a garage, you have a motorcycle, you have a rider, you have a portrait, and that can be experienced however you would like to. If you just want to look at it on your phone, great. If you want to look at it on your TV, if you want to use Sony spatial display, then you can look at it like a 3D display right in front of you. There's opportunities to really view this and experience it from all different angles. And so we wanted to use that tech to just make something interesting with an NFT. And to talk about the Hemingway one, if any of you had or have had pop-up books, when I was a kid, you know, you'd open up a book and a castle would pop out of it, and each page would be something else that was amazing and beautiful and different. And so for Hemingway, we've decided that we wanted to create a version of a digital pop-up book. So if you're using the Sony, you know, spatial display, you literally will feel like you have a digital pop-up in front of you. And one of the scenarios with Hemingway is it's him when he was spending his time in Cuba on his boat. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he was hunting Nazi U-boats off the coast of Cuba because he thought that they were going to be attacking the United States, on top of many other endeavors that he had, fishing. And so that experience we've created in an immersive way, so you can get an NFT that'll give you access to that one-of-a-kind experience with Hemingway in Cuba as like a pop-up book. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do to just kind of push that medium forward and make it interesting and engaging and fun. And like I said, you know, in working with the estates, it's been really fun. We've made jokes that we're working with so many dead people now. But the next step, and some people say, that a lot of people still remember Coachella a little over 10 years ago when Tupac made an appearance. It was his hologram. So again, we're using this technology to create an immersive experience that you can have with Tupac. That's the first step. Then the next step is we're going to have a concert where, again, you can use Sony spatial display. You can use different VR, AR technology that we're talking with different companies about, and you're going to be able to experience Tupac coming back to life and performing a concert for you. And we're going to be doing that with a multitude of other artists, not just dead artists. We just happen to be working with a lot of them now. And we just think it's a fun, interesting new way to embrace the way that we consume content.
Well, a dead artist can't really say no.
This is also true.
That's true.
And something
Unless
that
you're
you
haunted.
spoke about earlier, Justin, on a previous panel was we like to focus on complementary, having it be complementary to the traditional ecosystem. So there's as opposed to just disrupting it. So as an example, with the McQueen estate, there we're looking into having a Steve McQueen Island in Fortnite. I don't know who's played that game or is aware of it, but you can go to the island out there and with your McQueen on your motorcycle or in your Ford car, drive around and engage in a traditional gaming environment. So we like to, our goal is to try and bring on as many people on Main Street and to get people to, come over to the Web3 space, because I think some people get too caught up in trying to, use terms and labels that your average person who's not into it has no idea what we're doing or what we're talking about. And so our goal is to try and kind of, connect with the common person who wants to engage with their favorite artists but doesn't exactly know what Web3 is.
Last thing I'll say, and then I of course open this up with, we're gonna answer all your questions, and we just talked. 3 white guys talking
classic.
up here. But so last 2 things. One is our McQueen drop is on Theta drop next month.
Yes, Theta
on
drop.
the 15th. So anyone who is a McQueen fan, there's an opportunity to be a part of that community, which we've been building for the last couple of months. But also, one other thing that we're working on that we're excited about is we spoke with Janet Yang, who is the president of the Academy, and she was wondering how the Oscars and the Academy could kind of stay up and relevant with everything that's happening in this space right now. And we said, well, what if you did a virtual experience where all of us who aren't invited to the Oscars, we're still not invited, sadly, can still go in real time and watch the Oscars in a front row seat. And she was like, yeah, why wouldn't we do that? So now we're trying to work with the tech and a bunch of companies to offer an experience where you now can go sit front row at the Oscars and watch your favorite artists come out and deliver speeches and win awards. And it's not just held off to those in Hollywood who are invited or lucky enough to go. And I think we're going to see that more with the Super Bowl. You can sit on the 50-yard line, right, and watch a game in real time rather than having to spend the $100,000 it'd probably cost to get you there. Or the fill-in-the-blank Beyonce concert where you can sit on the stage and experience that in real time. So again, it's just an exciting way to look at technology and how it's going to affect how we consume content and entertainment. We have 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Does anyone have a question they're dying to get answered? Or we'll just keep rambling. Yes.
I would say press about NFTs or the crypto, because a lot of people who aren't in the space lump everything together, and as we all know in here, that's not the case. We had a couple deals with top music artists that were about to close and fell through right when the FTX thing went out, and there was news out there that everybody was getting sued, Lindsay Lohan, all these names, right, who were involved in the marketing and promoting of FTX. And so I'd say that's been hard, just battling kind of Main Street's opinion of what they consume through, mainstream media. I would say terms being dragged.
Well, we did something right because they just gave us 2 more minutes.
Nice.
I don't know if that was, so I feel good about that answer, Billy. Good work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I got my hearing from my grandmother, so I only heard about half of that question. But if you want to,
she's asking how we're going to address, dealing with the Tupac, the hip hop community, because we're not from the hip hop community.
Oh, right.
And how to address it through diversity, right? Correct. And we're not just going to make it a money grab, right?
oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
comparing with Meta did something with the biggest thing. What? Yeah.
I'm sure you said it much more eloquently, but
For
thank
sure,
you, Billy.
100% more
Yeah, I mean, I think
it was a good question. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're here hopefully to support every single community that is looking for that support, right? I think, you know, for Tupac, really, I don't think we would have moved forward on the project if the estate hadn't been excited about the project. You know, it was like when we had the opportunity to work with them in the first place. Really, the first area that we're looking is the sandbox metaverse, and so in that there is some diversity in terms of products and brands and people that are in the sandbox, and so one of the things that was interesting in talking to the estate is they said, yeah, this is pretty interesting, and we'd put together kind of a pitch deck of, you know, we're talking to Interscope about these 15 songs and thinking about doing this experience, and they said, we see all the cool stuff that Snoop Dogg's doing in there right now, so just go do what you do. So I think for that particular project, everything's kind of a case-by-case situation, but it's making sure that at least whoever we're working with feels supported and is wanting to be there and be a part of it. And then also for us, it's just about listening and like hearing what people have to say. And if we do get it wrong or we're not focusing on the right things, hopefully, you know, if that's brought to our attention, then we can and make sure that everyone is represented in the way that they want to be represented. For us, it's never been about short-term or money grab. For us, it's always about supporting the artist as well. So I'd say, yeah, hopefully. Look, it's interesting. I've been a screenwriter for over 2 decades, and at the end of writing a script, I usually give it to my friends who are female, and I say, how badly did I screw this up? And they say, terribly. I would never say this, we would never do this, you know, these are the things. And after I get the feedback, constructive criticism, notes, then I make that better. So yeah, it's just about for us listening and making sure that we are getting it right and revising where we need to and changing where we need to, I would say.
I would love to talk to you afterwards, actually.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Cool. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
100%. Right, I mean, because that's a goal of ours, right? Like, we can only bring our own perspective, and we're a startup, right? So it's like, but we are very open, and we want to do our best to, you know, represent everyone in this and think outside of ourselves from our own experiences. Other questions?
The clock keeps going
No,
up,
she's more questions.
McQueen, Hemingway, Tupac. Those
Right.
3 you're talking.
I think Hemingway and Tupac are very similar, so that should play pretty well.
Well, I think that's what's
That's the
been
world we're trying to create, right? Just like inclusion of everything. And
Well, that's the funniest thing too, is kind of who is interested in the space and who isn't. And that's like, if I would have gone to John and he would have been like, oh yeah, let's make some money. Yeah, cool. And then it wouldn't have happened, right? But I'll tell you a quick anecdote. For those of you who know Dog the Bounty Hunter, do we know who this is? Yeah. He was like a really big reality TV star, especially in the early 2000s. His team came to us and was like, hey.
We have an eclectic roster. We would just
Again, we're like, if you're interested, we support you. We're going to find a way to get you to get what you want.
Yeah.
But so Dog was like, hey, let's go to dinner. I want to hear about this Web3 stuff.
Nice voice.
So I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I see what this is. Like, you can't just attach a celebrity to a project and think, oh, it's going to be successful. Like, they need to be in it for the right reason. So I'm like, I'm not going to not sit down with this guy with the beautiful blonde, luscious hair with feathers in it and tattoos and, like, you know, has been hunting down criminals for 100 years. No, I'm just kidding. He's 70. I don't know, 70? Anyway, so I go and I have dinner, and he said, he's like, I'm thinking about the next phase of my life. I really want to leave a legacy, and I think this might be a place to leave it. I said, okay, that's interesting. And he said, when I was approached to do Dog the Bounty Hunter, the reality television show, everyone said, don't do it. It's career suicide. No one will ever take you seriously. Reality television is a facade. It's going to fade away. No one's going to care about it. It's a bad look. Stay away. And he didn't listen to them, and obviously, besides Ozzy Osbourne, I think at the time, it was the top reality TV show on television. So it changed his life, and he was able to do a lot of things in his life for the better because of it. He said, I see Web3 and the technology similarly. I think this is going to be an opportunity to make a major impact for the world. This is going to be something that the world is going to continue to consume, and I want to be a part of that. And I want to leave a legacy through that. And so after hearing that, I was like, those are the right reasons. So let's do something together. And we created a ridiculous Dog the Bounty Hunter sandbox metaverse experience that we're still trying to get released here soon, hopefully. We're going to hang out with them at a party in a few nights, so we'll get them liquored up and then convince them to
And there's a
release
new
it.
announcement. John's going to play Dog the Bounty Hunter 2.
Sorry,
that was early.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about, but yeah, I can do the voice like, come on this way.
We actually did talk about having Snoop come out for some bounty hunts because he's so big in the sandbox. But yeah, maybe we can get McQueen and Hemingway to go on some bounty hunts too and throw everybody in there.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
So just to tie into your talk earlier as well, you're talking about the NFTs to be able to add your experience and stuff. Is there any opportunities for creators to pitch pilots or anything like that outside of what you guys are doing as well?
Yes, so we're hoping that we can that we get out of a bear market and that we start having more success financially. And for us, we're looking at opportunities for investment, maybe an acquisition. And once we have that, then we want to scale, and then we'd have a full department that would be open to that exact thing. We actually, I'll make this as fast as I can. We started our company as Verified Productions before Verified Labs, and that was in response to, I was a university professor for a very long time, Loyola Marymount University in undergrad and graduate programs. And what I was seeing is I taught screenwriting and producing. My students were graduating and not given opportunities in the industry because they weren't established, they had no credits, but they had great scripts and passion. And so our production company was created to service those brilliant minds and to produce their films. And we got into NFTs because one of the very first films that we were going to produce from a former student of mine that was also going to direct it was a couple million. They said, we had an investor, Theta, that said, we're interested in investing in your film if you do NFTs with us, and that's how we found out about NFTs. But we're here to support the creator and hopefully allow them to do amazing stuff in this space. We ran out of time. It's blinking red. Sorry.
Thanks, guys.
I was
Thank
hoping
you.
they'd play the Oscar music to kick us off, but thank you very much, everyone.